the Y. And you could just put it like above or like.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Hey everyone, welcome. I'm really happy to see you all. It feels like it's been a long time. There are some students here who are doing a class project, so extra recording devices and stuff today, so welcome them and whatever feels right. So that's what's going on here. I appreciate Autumn. Thank you for being here for me last Tuesday. I was at a very sweet professional development workshop where I got to do some writing and being with other beautiful people, and was really refreshing for me. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity and grateful that I knew that all of you were in good hands here with your TAs and with Autumn, your learning coordinators. So thanks for that opportunity to be professionally growing for myself and for classes in the future and for you eventually this semester. So just take a moment, and we're on page 108 today if you haven't already gotten there, and take a good deep breath in. Put your feet on the floor, flat on the floor if you can. Take a good deep breath in, feeling at the core of your being, feeling that alignment of your vagus nerve, connecting your head, your heart, and your gut. All these parts within us that are so vital to being human. So I'm looking forward to this opportunity, this class with you today. So where we were last week, you also got to have Thursday, an opportunity to do something in this time slot for you. I hope we've got a long ways still, it feels like, till fall break. And so taking an opportunity for you to get some centering for yourself. I hope that that was a good opportunity. So where we have been in, I guess, 2 weeks ago and then the beginning of last week, is that we've been talking about this story of economism, how this as one of the root causes of what's happening, all the different things, the challenges that we're facing on planet Earth. And so this is one of them that you talk through with Autumn, how our story, our history, which can be very difficult to talk about, to acknowledge that that's part of it, I think definitely has, though, relationship to where we are now today. So work, get money, accumulate possessions leads to happiness. And so I understand that some of you might not feel like this isn't the path that you're on. There are a lot of people in our culture that are on this pathway, though. And so the more that we can open ourselves to other possibilities, the more it's possible for us to make connections with other people. So even if this might not be the track that you feel like you're on, or if it is the track that you're on, we're going to dig a little bit deeper, especially today's topic is happiness. So opening our minds gives us a place of connection and opportunity. Starting here, right? From the time I was about 10, this was what I thought was like the epitome of success, right? This is what it meant to me to feel like I've made it in the world. When I could get my convertible and I can drive those curvy roads and with the top down. And it wasn't too long ago that I had a realization that I don't even like driving with my windows down because it's too loud. It's too loud. I feel windblown. I feel crazy, and not in the good way kind of crazy, not carefree crazy, but like almost a trapped feeling in that wind. And then I reflected on this dream of mine of like, still, I was holding this image as the picture of success, the day that I can get my convertible, and then realizing I don't even like the wind when my windows are down. And so what is it then about this mental image for me that meant success? Well, when I started looking at it and reflecting on it using my metacognition skills, I realized that what I want is what this represents. I want time to just drive around, right? There's freedom in that. I want time to just be free, where I don't have any cares, where I can just cruise around and do what I want, go where I want. Like, that's pretty cool. I also want, there's something about the money of this that this represents that if I'm able to buy this, then that probably also means that I'm able to pay my electric bill and my water bill and my kids' medical bills. And so this would be like all of those other things are achieved, and this is like icing on the cake. And there have been a lot of times in my life where I can't do those basic things as a single mom, as somebody who's working hard in the world. It's just that sometimes the salary hasn't met those basic needs sometimes. And so that's a challenging place to be. So this represented that I had made it past those worries and was able to achieve something above that. So how often has this happened to me where the things that I think that I want or quote unquote need are things that have underlying roots in something else? Here's another example. Chairs. I have bought so many chairs over the course of my life. So I've lived in my current house for 20 years. And I can't tell you how many different chairs. I bought the big, like cushy, squishy one. And I bought this really colorful one that you see my cat in. I love this one. It's the right height for me, super comfortable. I've bought rocking chairs. I've bought gliders. I've bought all these different chairs, old-timey rocking chairs, sweet chairs. And I never sit. I never sit in them. I have a house full of chairs, and yet what I've learned is that it's not about the chair. I can buy hundreds of chairs and still not be taking the time to sit in them. And so what does that represent? What does that mean, right? I keep spending money that I don't really need to be spending, but what I really want is time to sit down. What I really want is time to read, to knit, to relax, and just be in a chair. So it's not really about the chairs. It's really about this underlying need or want that I have that my busyness in my daily world doesn't allow, or I don't make time. It does allow, it actually allows plenty of time, but I choose to do the things that keep me busy because I feel like I have to keep all these balls juggling in the air. And in reality, those chairs are perfectly fine. And I could definitely make time to sit. So how has this happened for you, right? Thinking about the things, the way that you spend money, what do you spend money on, right? Maybe you can't relate to my chair addiction or my story about the convertible, but what are you spending money on and how are you choosing those things? Why do you do that? So I'd like you to take this time to talk to your partner. What do you want money for and why? What's the underlying? And maybe it's something that you really truly dream of. That's very cool. But maybe there's something underlying that that is a different story, different part when you start reflecting. So take a moment, talk to your neighbor about this, and we'll come back together in a moment. Get my bell last night. I know this is a pretty vulnerable question, actually, to admit or look at those layers. Is there anybody who would like to share anything, any thoughts at this point?
I don't really have one that's like extreme like these examples, but the one that I would say is the most is probably clothes. And I just really like the expression of it, just
Mhm.
like the big bulky clothes, just like it's almost like stepping into a new character every day, deciding
Mm.
what to wear. And it's almost like a guard too. Like if I decide to put on this outfit, I can like almost be like, oh, I know I look good, so no one else really has to tell me.
Mm. Thank you for sharing. Anybody relate to that? Snap, you relate to that? Yeah, thank you. That's beautiful. I appreciate that. There's someone else back there, Kyla.
I spend a lot of money on like journals and stationery stuff because I try to keep everything organized in a journal. So I think my thought process here is, oh, maybe if I get this specific journal, I can stay organized better. Or wait, let me try out this pen and maybe it'll help me write better. And just trying my best to stay organized. And it leads me to just buying a bunch of stuff I don't need.
That's a big deal, and I can relate to that. So thanks for sharing that. Cool realization. Yeah. People relate to that. Snapping. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? So this goes back to, well, first, I like this quote, George Carlin, trying to be happy by accumulating possessions is like trying to satisfy hunger by taping sandwiches all over your body. It's about metacognition, right? It's about thinking about your thinking. You've seen this slide way back at the beginning of class. That's what sort of your journal is getting at a lot of the time. And then this quote that we saw back in the choice class, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom, Viktor Frankl. So between the story class and the way that I've opened class already today, you might be thinking that I'm overlooking something. You need to have some money. We all do. We all need to have money to get where we are. So do you have, this is a reflective question, do you have an annual salary in your mind about what would be okay to survive, to thrive on that salary? How much money would be enough and what is enough? So you might want to jot that down on your paper if you have one of those, a number in mind, just as a point of reflection for yourself. So how is it that this number, this money number, relates to happiness? It's interesting because there are quite a lot of studies that are being done about this. So the idea that we are measuring how income and then happiness score are related. So as we look at this, you know, if we're looking at income across the lower bracket here, and thinking about what the income is like. So from $0 to $75,000, this is a pretty recent study, so the numbers are pretty accurate, is that $75,000, that's, you know, pretty constant growth in happiness, because there's this threshold of, like I said earlier, of making sure that you can pay the electric bill, making sure that you have health care that makes a difference for you. And then, so like basic needs, we're going to get into that more in a moment. And then from there, there is a curve that continues up, not as steep as down here, but continues up And then when we get up here, so around $200,000, right? Then things get really stretched out because the well-being, which is the orange curve, and then life satisfaction is the blue curve, they don't change dramatically after particular numbers. So it's a matter of figuring out, where is this balance? Where is the right income bracket where you can meet your needs and as well as have good well-being and satisfaction? This is another way of looking at it, the fulfillment curve. So money spent down here on the bottom curve, and then fulfillment. So where it continues going up, here's the survival point on the curve. And then there's the extra comforts of survival or past survival. And then you get to this point of luxuries or the capacity for sharing. There are some cool research studies that have been done about sharing. So I added that into this slide because if you're sharing it, there is this really cool thing that happens, that you're helping other people and the fulfillment continues to go up. But if you're just over consuming, then your fulfillment starts to go down from that point. So how is it that we can find where this balance is? Where is the place where we can maintain satisfaction and fulfillment and have the money that we need? I'm sure that many of you are familiar with this, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when we reflect on this, based on this idea of money and happiness and the relationship between them, the physiological needs down at the bottom, food, water, warmth, rest, these are all very basic human needs. And so you need to have money, we need to have money in order to make sure that our physiological needs are being met. If these are not met, the human body cannot function optimally. If you're not living in a place that's safe enough for you to get good sleep, then you aren't going to function well as a human. It's going to influence your choices. It'll influence the way that you're showing up. And then other basic needs include those safety, the security, the safety needs. So experiencing order, predictability, and a sense of control in your life. So emotional security, financial security, law and order, freedom from fear, social stability, property, health, and well-being. So you can see how those tie into the physiological needs at the bottom. Then as we move up, there's the belongingness and love needs, the idea that intimate relationships, friends, the intimate relationship with ourself, those connections, trust, acceptance, receiving and giving love and affection are all really important. Affiliating, being part of a family or a group is really important. And then also in the psychological needs, those esteem needs, those ideas of prestige and feeling of accomplishment. So the esteem for oneself, and then the desire for reputation and respect from others, a status sort of thing. The idea of reaching a place of prestige, of being known for what you'd like to be known for. And then up at the top, the self-actualization. So idea that we get the opportunity to seek personal growth and peak experiences. Maslow describes this level as the desire to accomplish everything that one can, to become the most that one can be. So everyone is striving for the fulfillment of this hierarchy of needs. The lower ones have higher priorities so that we can function well, basic needs. But at our core, we're looking to fulfill them all. So as you think about the dollars that you choose to put out, whether they're your hard-earned dollars or whether somebody is gifting those to you, where is it on this chart that you're meeting this? We'll come back to this. I'll give you a little time to process this. So are you looking with the money that you're spending to fulfill the higher needs before some of the lower needs? How is it that it works for you? Is what you're buying even fulfilling the need that you think it is an important question. So in order to dig into this a little bit more, I'd like you to consider, think of someone that you believe is happy. And what leads you to believe that? I'd love for you to share some cool stories of happy people with your neighbor. Would anyone like to share a story of a happy person in your life?
I thought of this woman I know back at home. She's like a local playwright, and I think she just seems like a happy person. She's really figured out like the way she wants life to work for her, and like we have brunch together and replays, and it's incredible.
I love that. That sounds sweet. I'm glad that you get to spend time with her, and it would be fun. I would love to ask her questions, like what it is that inspires her to live that way. That's really cool. That's exciting. Yes.
My grandma more recently is like struggling with Alzheimer's.
Mm.
And I think she's really happy because she still remembers her family and she still spends a lot of time with us, but she also gets to forget about some of the other stresses in her life, which I think is an interesting way of twisting that.
That is interesting. Yeah, it brings up a question for me about how is it that we can do that? Like forget or live through or get past some of those stresses in order to be happy without needing to go through such a terrible hard thing too. So that's really intriguing. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad that you get to spend time with her.
So I say my dad. I
Yeah.
feel like in general, like I've never really seen him in a bad mood. Like he's pretty calm a lot. I think he also did well in his career and he's got like a family that he like loves a lot. And I think he has a lot of appreciation for that. And I don't know if that's just like actually how he carries himself. I'm sure he's in a bad mood sometimes, but in general, he just seems very happy.
You could ask him over Thanksgiving, Dad, are you ever in a bad mood? See what he says. Interesting. Opportunities for connection. Love that. And it's cool to have somebody like that in your life. Anyone else? So it's sweet to see those happy people. I have met some really sweet, happy people, and I have gotten to have some really cool conversations with them too, that have then opened me to possibility of ways of being or moving in the world that I wouldn't have thought about otherwise. And so I feel like those are real blessings. And so what about you? What about you? When do you experience genuine happiness? I'd like you to fill this out. Do it 3 times in your journal. I experience genuine happiness when and then talk to your neighbor when you feel comfortable with your list. I saw that. All right. Of course I want to hear, right? Of course I want to hear what makes you happy. Genuine, deep happiness. You want to just say it? Oh, she's coming. Here she comes.
All right. I've searched the world and it did not fulfill me. Like I've been to some really cool places in the world, and like even then I'm still wanting more. And when I experience true happiness and joy is when I'm close with God, and when I'm sharing my faith and talking about it and just reading the word. That's when I'm truly happy.
Thanks. Thanks for saying so. That's deep. Love it.
I was gonna say something pretty similar actually. I was talking about like how like happiness for me tends to be like because of my circumstances, but like the true joy that I experience in life is because of Jesus and my faith. And I look back on like everything I've ever been given and like just like with my friends, like I know that Jesus gave me those friends, or like the security that I have in my life, or like I'm a transfer student and Jesus just gave me so much clarity on the fact that I'm supposed to be here, and my true happiness comes from him.
Yeah.
So I second that.
Thanks for sharing. There's somebody in the back there. Kyla, if you'll walk straight back. You can go. Go ahead, Logan.
I said me and my partner both wrote the same thing, like laughing. Like, you know,
Laughing.
when your friend says something like super unexpected or like something happens, like and there's like the 2 seconds where you're just like laughing so hard you can't think about anything. It's just like hilarious. Like I definitely feel that.
Oh,
That's like peak, like definitely feel happy.
peak genuine happiness
yeah.
for you is laughing and your partner. That's awesome. Thank you. What else?
I like fishing.
Yeah. What do you like about it?
I like being out there by myself, and then you just feel like really happy when you finally catch something. It's like
Yeah.
hard work pays off of just like standing there and waiting.
And knowing what you're doing, like it's a skill that you've developed. That's really beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
I feel really happy when I'm like with my dog or just playing with an animal. Like I
Yeah.
just really like animals, and I think that like, yeah, they're just really cute and you have a good time.
Yeah. Something really connecting and sincere about their relationship, their care for us. Yes. Go ahead. Yeah.
I would say I feel true happiness when the people that I care about around me are also happy. Because if you think about it, it's really hard to have a bad time when everybody else is having a good time around you, you know?
So true. So it's community. It's a sense of, yeah.
You could say that. You could say that.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but when everybody's happy, there's a sense of
Oh, no, I agree with you. Yes, yes.
togetherness. Yeah.
Good time.
Thank you. So happiness, there are universities now that are researching happiness. Nick Marks is one of those researchers, and he summarizes it in the list. And I'll point something else out in just a moment, that connection, whether we're connecting with animals, connecting with people, connecting with nature, the idea of being active, being outside, so maybe exercising is a way of feeling genuine happiness. Taking notice, making observations, maybe observations about yourself, but could be about other people or the world. So taking time to take notice. Learning, continuing to learn what's happening around you. Things that intrigued you, your fishing strategies, right? You're going to continue learning. That's cool. And giving, the opportunity to share. You're giving that dog pets and joy, and that dog is giving that back to you. Giving your time and your energy to other people, to organizations. So this is how he boils down, this happiness researcher, Nick Marks. And you'll notice that there's something, the commonality with all of these is about being in relationship. The other thing that I noticed, and tends to be true enough so that I put it on the slide, is that none of the things that you all talked about as being true happiness require any money. So the idea of connection and the idea that we can do that without spending is pretty interesting. So if it's about relationship, if it's about connection making me feel alive, really that simple, then what holds me back from connection sometimes? What holds me back from relationship? So there's this thing called the World Happiness Report. The report comes out every year on the first day of spring. And so in March of 2025, this World Happiness Report came out. The idea that it's committed to redefining the growth narrative and putting people's well-being at the center of government efforts. This is the 13th year for this report. World Happiness Report is a landmark survey of the state of global happiness that ranks 156 countries by how happy their citizens perceive themselves to be. March 20th happens to be the International Day of Happiness. So here's a little video about how they do this report. Thanks, Abby. Nope. Yeah.
One of ways to measure and explain happiness, as well as looking at why some countries are happier than others. They look at data from the Gallup World Poll. Included in the survey is the country ladder question. It asks people to imagine a ladder. The top of the ladder represents the best possible life for you, and the bottom of the ladder represents the worst possible life for you. On which step of the ladder would you say you personally feel you stand at this time? More than 100,000 people each year respond from all around the world, giving us a picture of a country's overall happiness. Countries such as Finland, Denmark, and Switzerland have consistently ranked at the top of the list. Why is that? There are 6 explanatory factors that help explain the different levels of happiness between countries. First up is social support. In order to feel secure, people need to feel that at least one person will care for them when in need. This is the #1 predictor of happiness and well-being. Next up is GDP per capita, or how much each country produces divided by the number of people in the country. Healthy life expectancy is next on the list. We look at physical and mental health. Freedom to make right choices plays a key role in people's happiness. Generosity is measured by looking at how charitable people are. The final variable is an absence of corruption. This looks at both governments and businesses. Policymakers, communities, families, businesses, and individuals now have better guideposts to creating happiness. Each year, the World Happiness Report shares the newest insights in well-being science. We believe the best measure of progress is the happiness of people around the world. To find out more, check out worldhappiness.report.
So they mentioned some of the top countries in there, the top 10: Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, Netherlands, Costa Rica, Norway, Israel, Luxembourg, Mexico. The United States was at the 13th place last year, and this year we dropped to 24th on the list. It's the lowest ranked the United States has ever been. And there is a significant reason for this change. It's a really dramatic, could you just hit play on this? An interesting place of reflection for us. No, the one that's in the slide, sorry. Yes. Okay. Not really there. The idea, on my computer. The idea that caring and sharing capacities have gone down, our connections have decreased over the course of the last year. Across the globe, really, people have, there we go. Across the globe, younger people between the ages of 15 and 24 were typically happier than older people, except in North America. Researchers highlighted a decline in happiness for Americans under 30 years old. May explain why we dropped out of the top 20. The quote says, the report reads, the US decline is at least partly attributable to Americans under the age of 30 feeling worse about their lives. So the hypothesis that is that the well-being differences come down to the strengths of community and social ties. How do people prioritize and interact with friends and family and coworkers and other people? And it depends on age. So we know that social support and loneliness affects happiness, and different generations have different levels of social connections. Factors including school closures during COVID-19, technology use, and quality of friendships may affect young and old differently. So when we're considering this, how it affects a big portion of our population, it's really important to reflect on that and wonder how we would answer the questions. And if we're feeling that lack of connection, what is it that we can do about it? How can we find the connections that we're searching for? The idea is these 2 dots. So the principle of the 2 dots is that what we want and what I have, sometimes like your example of traveling the world and seeing different countries and still feeling like there's a disconnect, right? There's still more that you want, more that seems to be, something seems to be missing, right? So how is it that we can get those 2 dots to align, what I have and what I want. And then that is where we can find that connection, where we can find happiness. So an example, a simple example, I was waiting for a friend down on the corner by the corner room, and the friend was late. And I was standing there and I was looking at my watch. I was checking my phone for texts. I was just totally in dismay that this person was late and they hadn't contacted me. And we were going on like 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late. And I started this anxiety rising in me. First, a little bit of worry, what happened to that person? But then also like, man, I'm just waiting here. I'm just standing here. And so what I had and what I wanted were very separate. So how is it in that moment, if I think about these two dots, that I can bring those things together and be happier, be more content? So what I did was I started watching the crows. I started just looking at the sky. I started people watching. Rather than staring at my watch or staring at my phone, I just started just being, just in the moment, taking time to look at people's faces and watch what was going on, seeing the crows flying around, wondering what they were doing, creating questions in my mind, getting curious about things. And then I wasn't so dismayed, right? I wasn't in this place of what I have and what I want being so separate. I could bring them together and feel much more at peace about where I was in that moment. So rather than being in an argument with life and what was being presented to me, I can say yes to whatever the moment is bringing. And there's a certain amount of peace in that. So what I have right now, what I want now or in the future, how can I get those things to align? So life shows up as it does, moment by moment, and then we get the choice of what to do in those moments. So how is it that we can be in the moment of gratitude, of appreciating what we have, where we are, and then understanding that maybe the other things will come later? So if we tie this back into what is it that how we read, how we see ourselves in this Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when I'm investing time or money or energy into something, is it in alignment with what I really need in the moment? How is it that I'm making those choices? Are my choices logical and consistent with the person that I want to be in the place where I am right now? Can I live with less stuff, therefore less impact, and still be more comfortable if I shift my mindset a little bit? Can I use my creativity with the stuff I have so that I don't need to get more stuff and still become more of myself? So I have seen this work, that happiness is not so much about belongings as it is about true belonging. The idea that we can find our place in what we have. So I'm curious about how this strikes you. And your discussion question will tie into this, and I'll get to that in just a moment. There was a researcher who did a study in Africa. He had a great big basket of fruit, and he set that fruit out and like at a distance, and this group of kids, he said to this group of kids, the first one who gets to the basket wins the basket of fruit. And he was taken aback when all of the children joined hands and ran together and sat and ate the fruit. And he asked them, why did you choose to do that? And what they said was, Ubuntu, I am because we are. The idea of laughing together, the idea of being in community with other people who are happy, the idea of being connected. How can one of us be happy if all the others are sad? So what is it, right? Trying to find this happiness. How can we understand that in that Maslow's hierarchy of needs? How can we understand it related to the money that we're spending? That story of economism, understanding that happiness is not a pursuit. It's not somewhere out there, right? Happiness is inside, and it's ready to just be exposed by you. That's a pretty cool power that we have. The idea that we can metacognate about it, think about our thinking, and then find some answers, find some connections. Does anybody have anything that you'd like to offer at this point? Thinking about your thinking about situations. It's not quite time to pack up. We still have 4 minutes, so still good. Anyone have anything you'd like to say? Connections, questions? Okay. This quote, "It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else." It's pretty important, pretty big, pretty beautiful opportunity that we have. So your discussion question this week on Canvas is this. It's a statement. It comes from a talk that I heard when I was in college, and it was pretty important for me. Some of you that have answered today may have already started your reflection on this discussion question. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So what is your main thing? An attitude, a belief, a curiosity, a relationship, a passion, a routine. What is it for you that is the main thing? There are some follow-up questions that might help. How does your main thing shape your everyday life? How does your main thing relate to others and to Earth? How does your main thing connect you to your course of study or not? How does it connect to your future income or not? So I look forward to connecting this. You're all at different points in this adventures of your life and in this class. And there's a lot of beauty to be found when you consider your main thing. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on Thursday.